Factoring type 2 trinomials, part 3. First thing we're going to do is multiply the lead coefficient and the constant term together. 4 times 4 is 16. Now write down the factors. 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. And immediately I notice, hey, I need them to add up to a negative 17. I'm going to make them both negative, and they do add up to negative 17. And negative 1 times negative 16 still adds up to, multiplies to be positive 16. So that's correct. I'm going to bring the first term down. I'm going to rewrite the negative 17n with the two factors I just found. Negative 1n minus 16n plus 4. Grouping. I'm going to group the first two together. They both have an n in common that I can factor out, which will leave behind a 4n minus 1. I'm going to bring down the negative sign. 16n and 4 both have a 4 in common. And when I factor the negative 4 out of the second group, it does leave a 4n minus 1. Now I'm down to two terms. These two terms have a 4n minus 1 in common. When I factor it out of the first term, it's going to leave behind an n. When I factor it out of the second term, it's going to leave behind that negative 4. Now don't forget that this is the correct answer, but you can also rewrite it as n minus 4 times 4n minus 1. I don't care what order the factors are in, as long as the parentheses and the insides of them are exactly like mine. Now let's look at number 15. 6 times positive 6 is 36. Factors of 36 are 1 in 36, 2 in 18, and so forth. But immediately I notice, hey, I'm trying to get these to add up to a positive 37. So I think I can do it with the 1 in 36. I'm going to make them both positive, and they do add up to a positive 37x. I'm going to rewrite the first term, and now rewrite the 37x using these two numbers. Plus x plus 36x plus 6. I'm going to group the first two together. I'm going to group the second two together. The first two pieces have an x in common, and when I factor it out of the two terms, I'm left with a 6x plus 1. Bring down the plus sign between them. 36x and 6 both have a 6 in common. When I factor it out, I'm going to be left with a 6x plus 1. Again, check your work if you need to at every step by simply multiplying through. Now, both of these have a 6x plus 1 in common. When I factor it out of the first term, it's going to leave behind an x. When I factor it out of the second term, it's going to leave behind a plus 6. On this next one, I'm going to start by multiplying the 6 and the negative 6 together, which is negative 36. Factors of negative 36 are 1 in 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. And immediately I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking I need to make a 5n out of it. I can make 5 out of that. If the 4 is negative and the 9 is positive, they do add up to a positive 5n. So let's rewrite it. That's 6n squared. I'm going to use the negative 4 and the 9 to rewrite the 5n. It's a minus 4n plus 9n, and then copy down the negative 6. I'm going to group the first two together. I'm going to group the second two together. The first two pieces have a 2 and an n in common. When I factor it out of the first term, it's going to leave behind a 3n. When I factor it out of the second term, it's going to leave behind a negative 2. Bring down the plus sign between them. 9n and 6 both have a 3 in common. When I factor it out of that second group, it's going to leave behind a 3n minus 2. Now we're down to two pieces. These two pieces have a 3n minus 2 in common. So open up your leftover parentheses. When I factor the 3n minus 2 out of the first term, it's going to leave behind a 2n. When I factor the 3n minus 2 out of the second term, it's going to leave behind a plus 3. And we're finished. All right, that was factoring type 2 trinomials part 3.